For this week's Preppin data, we're making our own data set. So we're going to weather.com and searching for any location you like. I've got my hometown here of Southend-on-Sea in England, so that's where I'll be using the data, but obviously the data will still be structured in the same way no matter what location you choose, so you can personalize it to yourself, which is pretty cool. And what you're going to want to do is copy the HTML and use a cool function in Google Sheets, which is import HTML. And you're just going to want to paste that in as a list, and there are 3 different types of lists on there. You can have the weather for the next 5 hours, 24 hours, or the next 5 days. And so you just want to be making your own Google Sheet, copying and pasting that in. If I just show you, if I just take this one for example, show you how it works, then you write the word data as your heading, and then you paste that in there, hit enter, and there you go. It brings back all that data that you need, which is really cool. Not necessarily a Tableau prep thing, but still a cool kind of a data thing. So once you have your data, you go into Tableau prep. And I've chosen to union together those 3 files, those 3 sheets, sorry, of my Google doc, of my Google Sheet, sorry. So just a reminder, you bring in one of these data sets. Let's do it for this one. You select wildcard union, and then it kind of already is all filled in what you need to do. That's how it defaults, which is great. So you just hit apply, and then that little plus next to the table means that it's doing a wildcard union. I've unticked the file paths for this because that's not very useful. They all come from the same file path, but the table names, that's the sheet names, that's obviously quite useful because it'll tell us if it's the next 24 hours, the next 5 hours, or the next 5 days. Ooh, confused myself there. So let's take a look at the data that gets brought in. I'll just add in a clean step to have a look at it. So you can see that we've got table names obviously, but then we've got our data, and between each of the sort of pieces of information, we've got a \n, which is a new line basically. Where we had it in our Excel sheet, we can see it's on a fresh line for each of those things. So how do we get around that? You kind of start thinking, you're like, okay, I could do, say, you know, an automatic split, like on the \. Let's just try that, for example, in our data set here. So if we try and split those values on a \, split off all of them, then we can see that nothing happens. That's odd. Okay, why don't we try replacing that with a simple formula? So if I create a calculated field, we'll just leave it as calculation 1. I say replace that data, replace the \n with a pipe instead. Why not? Oh, whoops, I haven't done the inverted commas. There we go. Try that, save that. Oh, that hasn't worked either. Okay, that's something funky's going on there, really. So what we actually have to do, going through playing with our formulas, is use a regex replace. And that's what I've done here. Regex replace the \n with a pipe. So basically exactly the same, but just with a regex p underscore at the front of it. And that works, whereas the other version didn't work. Bizarre. So now we can go ahead and split off all those fields. So, you know, split values, custom split, put our pipe in, select all, and away we go. We get these 4 split fields, and we just get rid of that initial data field. So that's a lot better already. Now we can see though that we've got some fields here which have percentages in, some fields that have temperatures in. Now it's pretty safe to assume that these percentages go with these percentages, and they are the chance of precipitation. So what we're going to want to do is write a calculated field to say that if there's a percentage in this field, bring it over into this one here. So that's exactly what we do. And then we just tell it to replace any of those percentages in our 3rd column with nulls instead. So then that's all splitting out nicely, or a bit nicer, sorry. Now we want to clean, we want to get rid of these degrees signs, these percentage signs, these 2 dashes. So that's just, again, like we have trouble here because if I just do a little clean step to the side, let's try removing our punctuation, for example. Then we see that, okay, it gets rid of the dashes, but it doesn't get rid of the degree signs. That's annoying. So we can't do that. We can't, I tried getting rid of letters as well, thought maybe that'd work. But again, nothing happens. So we're turning to our friend regex again. So first of all, in this field though, the percentage sign did work when you cleaned off the punctuation. So our fourth column there is fine. But for 2 and 3, we're simply saying, bring out of that second and third column any digits. So that's what the \d plus, it means one or more digits. So that all works nicely. And then we're just changing those field types to be numbers. And then all that's left to do with this challenge, we've done all those tricky, weird bits, funky bits of prep, and we are just renaming these to be much more useful names. I should have renamed this to be a forecast because that's table names at the moment, which isn't very useful, whereas calling that forecast is much more of a useful name. So I hope you enjoyed this week's challenge. It's a bit different, a bit novel, so thanks for listening.